Hi everyone, my name is Hannah and I started the Box Collectors Society to explore inclusive definitions of creativity and gender. Welcome to my channel. I started this sketchbook in July 2024 and I've been using it for sketchbook challenges and finished drawings. I actually made this sketchbook at a workshop at Rock, Paper, Scissors in Oakland. And today I'm just going to work on a new page. I had something drawn previously on some of the pages and I didn't like the drawings, so I went over them in a matte black acrylic, and I'm really excited to use colored pencil on a black background. I didn't expect the paint to change the texture of the paper so much. It lets the pencils go on more like oil pastel than pencil, which has been really fun to work with. I don't really have any experience with oil pastel, but I really like how it looks. I just tend to shy away from it because it's such like a wide tool, and I usually like to do really fine line work. But I think as I start to work on more graphic pieces, I'll want bolder lines. So this is like kind of a nice in-between, having the like really soft pencil on the painted background versus just like diving straight in with like neo colors or larger oil pastels. So this flower that I've been working on is a part of a border that I'll show you in a minute. It's inspired by a set of folk art borders that I found on Pinterest. I really want to work more with folk art, less adopting like existing folk art traditions and more like doing some world building with plants and beings that I create. So in this drawing, I'm just like exploring existing folk art traditions, and I hope to do a lot more of that just to like learn about the pattern work, because I do want to emulate the traditional pattern work. I just want to use my own like plants and animals to tell stories. This is like a long-term goal for my drawing. I do a lot of abstract drawing and painting too, but I think if I'm ever to like really draw how I feel, I'd really like to draw kind of surreal beings in like narrative settings. So yeah, this is like the very, very beginning of that, learning about the symbolism that already exists, learning about like beings from nightmares that already exist, what people have already done. I like don't want to claim I've created a being when it's a part of a tradition. So yeah, I'm just dipping my toe in here. And I think this one came out pretty cute. I definitely want to have beings that are a lot less cute, and something I've been working on to help with this is just like muting my colors a lot. So the black background is great because the whole image is less bright, but what I find with using the Prismacolors is they're also bright, and I really want a super like muted, like muddy, earthy being, or plants that are like very natural in tone, like not vibrant and green and healthy, but more ghostly. So yeah, I think one of the next things I need to do is like a restricted palette, or maybe only like lead pencil drawings, and see if I can just work on the imagery. Now that I'm looking at this, it looks so different than how I'm picturing it in my head. It's crazy. I really wanted these flowers to look like red and like drippy, like they have blood on them or like a red sap. And I'm realizing now that the shape of the tulip is like too bubbly. And and so it has this really like sweet shape that the red doesn't really translate as like oozy. I also think the pink and red are generally just like too bright, like happy colors. But yeah, that was the intention there, which I don't think comes through at all. They just look like ombre tulips. And then I really wanted this cat being to have like motion, so I tried to draw it like in this crawling pose. I wanted it to like have movement, and I think it would help if there were like leaves or plants around it, so it looked like it was emerging from somewhere instead of just like stamped on the page. So one thing I've never really done is backgrounds. A lot of my like abstract pattern work is like floating on the page, so I often like draw something and then I'm like, I'm done. But really, I think I need to start like filling in the whole page, which is something you can see on the right. I've like done a whole page spread just to like get used to filling all of the white space. So yeah, I think that would help with like the narrative element, is having this being like emerging from plants. And then I also think making the being like, I have to like adjust the proportions. So all of my proportions are like kind of short and wide, which also makes it cuter. And the fur is like fluffy and clean. And I think figuring out how to make the fur more like scraggly or like long in certain areas. Like, what if this being was like unusually long, like a dachshund, and had like a punk haircut? This maybe sounds ridiculous and hard to picture, but it would like really change the effect of like this being having beliefs or like representing beliefs, as opposed to just like being a cute wild cat. So yeah, I'm just looking at this, like thinking about all the things I would do if I redrew this. So maybe I'll come back to it at some point. I also think I really need to like tone down the stripes color, because it's like giving Cheshire cat, and we're not really trying to do that. I do really like trippy, like colorful art, but yeah, I'm definitely going for like more surreal, dark colors. So yeah, that's for next time, I guess. For Christmas, my partner and I went to Puerto Rico to visit his mom, and I got this really cool patch from El Yunque. We spent a day there visiting the nature center and going on a little hike, and I'll throw in some pictures from our trip at the end, so stick around. While I do some stitching, I wanted to share the information from the patch packaging with you. The history of El Yunque National Forest is extremely rich. The Taino Indians who inhabited the island and called it Borican believed that the cloud-capped peaks in the Luxe Mountains, which they called Yuke, were a sacred place occupied by the good spirit, xoxo, to whom they prayed for protection from the bad spirit, huracan. From the Taino word Yuke, the Spanish colonizers derived El Yunque to refer to these mountains. The petroglyphs that have been discovered in river rocks within the forest provide mute evidence of the Taino who prevailed on the island for over 1,000 years. In 1876, while Puerto Rico was ruled by Spain, Alfonso XII designated 12,000 cuerdas, acres of land, in the Luque Mountains to be a forest reserve, making El Yunque one of the oldest reserves in the Western Hemisphere. And I just want to note that some of these pronunciations might be wrong. There's the Y sound for some words in Spain, but in Puerto Rico, often the Y is a J sound. Overall, it was a really amazing trip, and we learned a lot about the different native nations at the art museum as well. For the past few months, I've been working on a sweater for my partner. He really wanted this pink thrifted acrylic yarn that we found, and so we bought all that they had, and I started making the sweater, and we realized that we didn't have enough. So I have started to use a Merino blend that we bought new, and I'm hoping to incorporate the acrylic somehow, but I'm not totally sure where the best place is to incorporate it since it will age or like wear very differently. So yeah, more to come on that. So here is the Merino blend that I'm using, and then the thrifted acrylic was a red heart berry color. My partner really wanted a fun statement sweater, so I spent some time looking around and decided to purchase this retro sweater pattern from Show Me Row Me on Etsy. I'll put the name up on the screen. It's a PDF like downloadable pattern, and I actually really like using it in Notability because I can keep track of what row I'm on really easily with the highlighter tool. So that's what I've been doing, and I finished the front side to the sweater yesterday and started the back, so I'm moving right along. Without giving too much away, I think I can share a little bit about this pattern. It is mostly a half double crochet, bubble stitch, and star stitch combination, and it's been pretty easy to work up. I'm using a pretty small crochet needle, hoping to get like a more knit-like look. I've actually been thinking about learning knitting a lot recently because I want to make more clothing, so we'll see. Maybe that'll show up in future videos. On the theme of clothing, I recently ordered some sew-on patches to put on my jacket and some of my pants from Kanani and Feigning Sane, so I thought I'd do a little unboxing with you all. This Sphinx Cat business card is just killing me. I have wanted one of these Nikki cats for so long, and we're just not a cat household. As you can see, we have our giant doggo. But yeah, I am living for it. I feel like these patches really fall into the spooky folk art being category that I'm trying to make happen in my drawings. I've been trying to customize my clothing more now that I'm feeling more comfortable in the silhouettes that I have gender-wise. I definitely went through a phase where I just wore like a lot of oversized clothes that just made me feel kind of sad. So I still wear a lot of like oversized styled garments, but I'm starting to find stuff that makes me feel like more empowered, as opposed to just stuff that like drowns out any understanding of my body. And being able to add animals and like beliefs that feel like they represent me definitely makes my clothing feel more empowering. I've got a couple other patches coming that are like more typical black and white punk patches with like my beliefs on them. So yeah, I'm excited to start adding those to clothes too. A few more things to note. In December, we finished the Urban Compassion Project fundraiser, and we were able to donate $106 from zine sales, sticker sales, and woven greeting card sales. So thank you to everyone who participated buying art or donating directly to Urban Compassion Project in Oakland. And then I also promised a few photos from our Puerto Rico trip. So here is a giant leaf from El Yunque and a picture of the island from the tower in El Yunque. And then I also wanted to share that this month I'm participating in the Birb Fest challenge on Instagram, where you draw a bird a day. I'm not drawing a bird a day, but here are some of my favorites so far. I just thought I'd share with you. You can follow along with the challenge on my Instagram. I'll put my handle on the screen. Thanks for sticking around, and I hope you enjoyed the video. See you next month on February 15th.